I'm going to just start off with some introductions and then we're going to get things kicked off. So I'm Donna Walker, a practice development coach and a senior startup consultant, and I will be presenting this evening. Along with me on the call is Lori Ritchie, who is also a senior practice development coach. So today's presentation is From Chaos to Clarity, Making Inventory Manageable. So let me ask you, how many of you have ever opened a drawer or a cabinet in your location and realized that you have syringes missing and no one seems to know why? Or maybe you've looked at your P&L and your cost of goods are completely out of control, but you're not exactly sure where it's coming from. Do you know what percentage of your revenue is being eaten up by inventory? What about your retail? Are you tracking that? Or are you just hoping that things will end out okay at the end of the year? And let's not forget shrinkage. It's the end of the year, your shelves look light, and your numbers don't add up. Does this sound familiar to anybody on the call? Use the chat and let us know. That's what we are going to unpack this evening. We're going to cut through the noise and dig into systems and strategies that will help you take control of your inventory without overwhelming you. Whether you're building your first inventory system or tightening up on an existing one, you'll walk away from this call this evening with real tools, smarter workflows, and the confidence to move from chaos to clarity. So here's a quick look at what we'll be covering. We'll begin with an introduction to why inventory management is so important, especially in practices where cost of goods, cash flow, and patient experience are all directly impacted. And then we'll dive into the core principles that guide every inventory system. Things like accuracy, consistency, visibility, and accountability. From there, we'll look at annual or initial setup, how to get clean inventory, a baseline, organize your spaces, and set the stage for success. Once that's in place, we'll cover how to set your minimum and maximum levels and organize your products into the right categories so ordering becomes more streamlined. We'll also review your quarterly check-ins, how to identify dead stock, optimizing your shelf space, and evaluating your service menu based on inventory movement. After that, we'll go step by step through monthly inventory cycle, including purchase orders, promotions, receiving, and tracking. We'll then talk about what to do at the end of the month, like final counts, injectable reconciliations, and analyzing variances. We'll cover how to properly manage returns and exchanges so you minimize liability and keep your reporting clean. From there, we're going to look at best practices to sustain success, like assigning inventory champions and tying inventory to your KPIs. We'll explore tech tools that can help simplify and automate many of these steps. And we'll wrap it up with ideas for team engagement, because good inventory management doesn't happen without team buy-in. Finally, we'll recap key takeaways and talk about the next steps and available support through Clarity Community. So let's start with why inventory management is such a critical part of your practice's success. First, it directly protects profitability. When you have tight control over your inventory, you also manage cost of goods sold, which is one of the biggest factors impacting your bottom line. Second, a well-managed inventory improves cash flow. You're not sitting on expired or overstocked products, and you're not scrambling to make emergency purchases at premium prices. Third, it reduces shrinkage and waste. With consistent systems in place, it is easier to catch discrepancies, manage expiration dates, and avoid losses, intentional or not. Fourth, it creates a smoother day-to-day operations. Providers aren't running out of numbing cream or chasing down syringes. It removes friction from their workflow and lets them focus on the patients. And lastly, inventory control sets your practice up for future growth. If you can't manage your volume you have today, it's hard to scale. But if your systems are in place, you can confidently grow your offerings, your team, and your profitability. So before we dive into systems and processes, I want to ground us into 4 core principles that should guide every inventory decision we make. The first is accuracy. This means your numbers should match reality. Whether you're doing account manually or through your software, what's in the system should reflect what's on the shelf. Inaccuracy leads to overordering, lost revenue, or worse, running out of critical supplies. The second is consistency. A one-time cleanup won't cut it. The goal is to create habits and workflows that the team follows month over month. That consistency is what builds long-lasting control. Third is visibility. You should be able to look at your inventory at any point in time and see exactly what you have on hand, what's coming in, and what needs to be ordered. This is where good software, clean data, and organized storage makes a huge difference. And finally, accountability. Inventory ownership. Assign someone to be your inventory champion, someone who maintains the systems, tracks discrepancies, and communicates needs. When everyone's responsible, no one is responsible. So clear roles are essential. These principles are simple but powerful. If your inventory strategy is built on this foundation, everything else becomes easier. So when setting up inventory for the first time or doing your annual refresh, it's important to build a strong foundation. If you're doing your refresh or annual inventory, start by pulling an inventory on hand report or an inventory evaluation report. If this is your first time doing inventory, or say you are just opening up, you can enter the counts into inventory as a PO and receive them. You're going to do a full inventory account across all categories: retail, professional products, and general supplies. This needs to be done preferably when the business is closed to avoid inaccurate counts due to real-time sales or movement. You can sometimes section things off and do it during business hours or when it is slow. Next, you're going to organize everything by area before you can begin the actual count. Think about treatment rooms, storage closets, dispensaries, display shelves, drawers where backstock is kept, even the front desk. Anywhere inventory might hide should be a part of this process. You can even create a stock room that you pull back bar and supplies from to restock the rooms. Clutter creates counting errors. Tidy shelves equals accurate data. Use clean, labeled inventory count sheets so you don't miss anything. Some systems allow you to pull up the count sheet right on your tablet. Work in teams of 2 if possible. Have someone entering the count or writing it down and another calling out the count. It reduces mistakes and it also builds accountability. One of the best tricks is to label the sheet or your inventory count by room or zone. You can even hand out sheets to team members at the end of the month to verify what's in their area. Then have your two-person team tally it up onto one count sheet. Once everything is counted and organized, enter it into your POS or spreadsheet, whatever you're using. Compare them to your current POS system or software data. This is how you get how you're going to identify shrinkage, expired goods, or stock that's been overlooked. This will serve as your baseline, and from here you can begin building your monthly and quarterly systems. So once you've entered your baseline inventory, the next step is to define how much of each item you want to keep on hand and how low is too low. This is where your minimum and maximum levels come into play. Your minimum is the reorder point. Once inventory hits that level, it's time to restock. Your maximum ensures that you're not over ordering or tying up cash in unused product. It is also important to categorize your inventory into three main groups. You're going to have your retail products sold directly to the patients. You're going to have your professional use inventory, such as injectables, pills, your masks, your serums, and consumables like tips or applicators for laser or body devices. And then supplies. Those include things like gloves, cotton, and numbing cream, everything that supports your treatments. When your inventory is well categorized, it becomes much easier to track usage and manage your cost of goods by treatment type. Whether it's your injectables, it's skin tightening, body contouring, or even medical weight loss. To determine your mins and max levels, look at your historical data uh, when it's available. Compare it to the same month last year or your average from recent quarters. If you're a newer practice, lean on your forecast. Base your assumptions on your service offerings, your provider availability, and your marketing calendar. These boundaries give you structure. They help automate your ordering and reduce last minute panic purchases. And remember, your min and max levels aren't set in stone. Adjust them if needed. You can increase stock for seasonal promotions or special events, or you can reduce it if a product is underperforming. The point is to create a responsive, proactive system, not just one more thing that you have to micromanage. Quarterly reviews are a great way to step back and make sure your inventory processes are aligned with your business's performance. Think of it as a pulse check. First, run some reports. They may be named different things in different POS systems or EMRs. You can run a aging inventory report. This shows you how long items have been in stock without selling. Slow moving inventory report tracks items with low turnover or stagnant sales. An inventory turnover report. This includes ratios that help identify which products aren't turning quickly enough. All of these reports, no matter which one you run, tell you where your money is sitting on the shelf. This helps you spot patterns and make informed decisions. Second, identify any dead stock. Items that haven't sold in the last quarter. These products take up valuable space and tie up cash flow. You can either put them on promotion to move them out, make a gift with purchase, give it to your staff as an incentive for reaching a goal, or in some cases, work with your vendor to exchange them. Third, have your team do a sweep for expiration dates. especially for professional use products like injectables or fillers. You don't want to discover something has expired when you need it. If anything is close to expiring, consider building a small flash promo to use it up while it's still viable. When, um, when they restock, pull these items to the front. Always put new stock in the back. Get the staff used to putting stock away in this manner. And finally, use the time to review your service menu. If you're carrying inventory to support treatments that no one is booking, or your team isn't trained or confident in delivering, it's time to ask whether those services should stay on the menu, or do you need to retrain the staff? This quarterly rhythm helps you reduce waste and tighten up your spending and make space for services and products that truly drive the growth of your locations. The monthly inventory cycle is where you turn your setup into sustainable habit. And this rhythm is what keeps your practice running smoothly. Step one is to create your purchase orders. Ideally, using your POS or inventory system. If you set up your mins and max levels correctly, your system will automatically generate a PO for you. Step two, always consider up and coming promotions or seasonality. For example, if you're running a skincare event or promoting hydrofacials in the summer, you'll want to stock up in advance to meet the demand. Step three, when inventory arrives, be meticulous. Check each order carefully against the packing slip or invoice. Count the items, check for damages, and confirm that what you're being billed for is actually what arrived. Step four, track anything that's damaged, returned, or shorted. If your POS system doesn't support this, use a return authorization tracker. These situations should never be handled verbally or informally. Document everything. We have cameras on our phones. Take a picture. It's worth 1,000 words. And finally, make sure the invoices are signed, filed for your bookkeeper. Write the name of the person who received the order on the invoice and get it to your accountant or whoever handles bills in your practice. This monthly cycle doesn't take long once it is systemized, but skipping even one of these steps opens the door to lost product, billing errors, and cash flow surprises. And we don't want any surprises. So what you're seeing here are two essential documents: our PO and invoice tracker and our return authorization form. These aren't just spreadsheets. They're operational safeguards that protect your business. The PO and invoice tracker helps ensure every product ordered and received is properly logged, approved, and reconciled with your financial system. It covers who ordered it and when it was ordered and how it was paid for and where it fits into your cost of goods categories. And you can print it out and attach the invoice along with the PO packing slip and attach it to the tracker. And if you don't want to use a PO, an invoice tracker, you can use an invoice cover sheet and do the same thing. You can attach the PO, you can attach the packing slip, and you can attach the invoice to the invoice cover sheet. The second document is the return authorization form, which is used anytime a product needs to be returned to a vendor. This helps track expiration dates, damage, or misorders. Having this level of documentation supports clean month-end reporting. It avoids costly oversights and strengthens your vendor relationships. And just as importantly, it gives your team clarity on what's expected. No more guessing. No more sticky notes. It all lives in a shared system that everyone can see. So as we approach the end of the month, it's crucial to close the loop on inventory. This is your opportunity to make sure your numbers are accurate and shrinkage is kept under control before the month end reports are finalized. So start by doing a complete recount of your inventory, both retail products and professional use items. This step ensures that what's physically on the shelf actually matches what's in your system. If using injectables like tox or fillers, this is where reconciliation process really matters. At my practice, the front desk would cross-check the units entered into the POS against a running list that the injectors maintain daily. This was a shared document in Office 365 where they logged each treatment in real time, including the client's name, the treatment provided, and the product used. And so they were able to match that up against their reports. Whether you're using paper travelers that follow the client from service to service, or you're operating on paperless with tablets, the key is to have a system that allows providers to update the ticket in real time, adding products or noting treatment changes before the client checks out. This creates visibility and prevents miscounts and supports real accountability. You'll likely still see some minor differences with products like Botox and Dysport due to normal unit loss when drawing up the product into the syringe. But ongoing shortages or overages should be flagged and they should be investigated. Next, don't forget your supplies, items like your cotton, your gloves, your numbing cream or your wipes, your tongue depressors. These aren't always tracked in the POS system, but they're essential to daily operations. A simple spreadsheet or a manual checklist works great um, to make sure you're always stocked. Finally, take time to analyze variances. If your POS system says you had 8 units of a product and you only have 2, you need to dig in. Was it a usage issue, a data entry error, or could it be a sign of something bigger? This is how you catch problems early and correct habits and reduce costly mistakes or loss. By doing this before the end of the month, you not only improve your purchasing decisions for the next cycle, but you build a culture of accountability and awareness across your team. So I want to talk about something that happens more often than it should. Providers receiving product directly from your rep or your vendor. Samples, or maybe it's a few syringes from Allergan or a shipment from McKesson that the injector coordinated. Maybe you allowed it because your team is small right now. They're giving the product for free, or um, they're using it on clients, or they're using it on themselves. While it may seem convenient in the moment, it creates a real issue for the business. First, it bypasses your inventory system, which throws off your counts and creates unexplained shrinkage. What if the provider is using it on a guest or storing up the product to open their own business? I've heard all kinds of stories where when you think it cannot happen to you, but it can. Oh, she's too honest. She wouldn't do such a thing to my organization. Second, it breaks the chain of custody. There's no paper trail, no invoices, no PO. If there's ever a product issue, compliance concern, or even a patient complaint, you don't have documentation to back it up. What was used when it arrived. Third, you're losing pricing and budgeting oversight. You don't know if the rep gave them a deal, more than likely for free, a promo, or charged standard rates, or tracking becomes impossible. Finally, it undermines accountability. You can't hold the team to accurate counts if they're bringing in untracked inventory. The solution is clear. You cannot allow this. All product must be ordered and received through the practice manager or your designated inventory lead. Your reps should know this policy and respect the system. It's not about control, it's about clarity, safety, and protecting your margins, even if they're getting it for free. So this slide covers a few compliance policies. There are some examples here for you that are important to reinforce, especially in a clinical and aesthetic settings where products, reps, discounts, and vendor relationships are common. So in this document on the left, first is the treatment protocol compliance. All employees must follow the company's established treatment protocols. This ensures consistency in care and protects patients and reduces liability. Next is a firm prohibition on soliciting or accepting products. Team members cannot accept products, samples, or promotions from reps. This helps prevent conflicts of interest and keeps vendor relationships professional and transparent. All product movement should go through management and be documented properly. There's also a reimbursement procedure in place. Any expenses tied to patient care or treatment protocols must follow formal approval processes and be submitted with proper documentation. If any employee sees or suspects a violation of these policies, they're encouraged to report it immediately to a manager or a compliance officer. On the right, we have outlined in our handbook our conflicts of interest policy. So this ensures that staff avoid any business or personal activity that could be a conflict of practice. It could be a conflict of interest of the practice. Examples include working for a competitor, managing a business relationship the practice is involved in, borrowing money from clients, and you think it's never happened, I guarantee you it has happened, or accepting lavish gifts from reps or vendors. This isn't just about legal compliance, it's about protecting the culture and trust within your practice. If anyone ever finds themselves in the gray area, they should always ask before acting. Shrinkage can be a silent profit killer. It's inventory that disappears without generating revenue. And unfortunately, most practices don't realize how much they're losing until they actually start tracking it. Common causes ranges from simple human error to expired products, unlogged returns, and untracked usage. For example, if an injectable is open but never recorded, or retail is used for sampling without being accounted for, that cost still hits your books. Theft or misuse is less common, but it does happen, especially with high-ticket items like fillers, skincare, or medical supplies stored without oversight. One of the most common reasons, though, is just not having a solid system. No one's responsible. Processes aren't consistent, and checks aren't being done. As a benchmark, shrink should be no more than 1 to 2% of your revenue. If it's higher than that, then just start out by trying to lower your shrink number. It's time to look at your workflows, training, and tracking. We can't eliminate shrink completely, but we can reduce it significantly with the right systems and team engagement. Returns and exchanges. Those can be tricky, but handling them correctly helps protect both your bottom line and your liability. So first, you're going to make sure you have a clear return policy that's visible at the point of sale, whether that's printed on receipts or included in your EMR, and also clearly listed on your website. This helps avoid any confusion or inconsistency for both your team members and your clients. Next, you'll want to process returns properly. Most POS systems will give you two options. If the product is unopened and unused, it can be returned to the shelf, so it's returned to your inventory. If the product is open, expired, or used, it must be removed from inventory completely. The most important thing is how you store returned items. Don't just throw them in a drawer or leave them accessible to staff. Use a designated area, ideally with the return slip or the client information attached to the product. We strongly discourage staff from taking product home or using returned products, even if they seem fine. They're too much of a liability. If someone has a reaction to a product that's been compromised in any way, that's bad for you. Lastly, include a return review as part of your closing procedure. That sends a message to your team that you're tracking these items, and it reduces the chance of misuse or loss. As we wrap up the system side of inventory management, let's focus on how to make it sustainable. These best practices will help keep your process running smoothly over time. First, like I said, assign an inventory champion. This should be someone who owns the process, not necessarily the only one doing the work, but the go-to person for questions, accountability, and consistency. You may have a lead esthetician or a lead injector, an inventory controller, and sometimes that means you as the manager. Next, perform spot checks. Do this monthly. Even if you're doing full counts less frequently, random checks of high valued or high turnover items helps catch issues clearly early. Make sure to train your team on both the why and the how of inventory. Expectations should be clear, especially around receiving orders, counting stock, and handling returns. It should be a part of their job description that all staff handle some type of inventory control. A great habit is to bundle your inventory reviews with your vendor strategy talks. For example, if you meet with your rep quarterly, review what's selling, what isn't, and explore new launch items or swaps. This keeps your shelf relevant and profitable. And finally, monitor your cost of goods on your KPI dashboard. Your cost of goods sold should be tracked monthly, so you can adjust the pricing, ordering, or service bundles as needed. It's one of the clearest indicators of financial health tied directly to inventory. Inventory management isn't just a back office task. It's a team effort. And when your team feels ownership over the process, everything improves. Start by assigning ownership by zone. Designate an inventory champion for each zone, retail, treatment room, supply areas, whether it's injectable drawers, the supply closet, or retail shelf. Someone should be responsible for maintaining the order and reporting the needs. Second, train your team with intention. Ensure the team understands the why, not just the how. Make sure they know not just what to do, but why it matters. When they see the impact on the cost, the efficiency, and patient care, buy-in goes way up. One way to build momentum is to gamify spot checks. You can offer small prizes, gift cards, or even just recognition for the most accurate counts or the cleanest restocks. Small prizes or shout outs for accuracy, neatness, or on time submissions of counts. Make time to celebrate the wins. Did shrinkage drop? Was it at an all-time low? Was month end completed ahead of schedule? Shout it out in team huddles, Slack, or in emails. And finally, close the loop. Don't let data live in a silo. Share the information, share the updates and wins with your staff. When they see how their work translates into measurable improvements, it reinforces engagement and ownership. So here are some of the tech tools for smarter inventory tracking. The POS or inventory softwares that automates tracking counts, POs, and reporting. Zenoti, Boulevard, Aesthetic Record, and Simplast, and there are many more. There are many more that track inventory. People just don't have their system set up and in place. EMR integration, track usage of medical supplies and injectables, Simplast, Jane, ModMed, Zenoti. Inventory trackers, you can help manage manual items, supplies, and room stock. You can use an Excel sheet. You can use Google Sheets, Sortly or Monday.com. Barcode and scanning tools speed up receiving and improve accuracy. You can use Socket Mobile or scan to sheets to apps. Return authorization trackers, it logs damage, expired, or returned items. You can use custom Excel sheets, POS modules. And the KPI dashboard, that tracks the cost of goods, the usage, and reordering triggers. That is Clarity BI dashboard. We'll track that for you. So this slide gives us a high level view of how our cost of goods sold, our cost of goods break down by category and how it impacts our overall profitability. On the left, you'll see a breakdown of cost of goods by service or product category. Not surprising, injectables and skincare products represent the highest costs. These are both in high demand and high margin areas, but also where the most inventory waste or over ordering can happen if we're not watching it closely. Categories like body contouring, thread lifts, and aesthetic services follow behind, but with significantly lower overall spend. This helps us identify where we need to dig deeper. Are we pricing correctly, bundling efficiently, and managing usage in our top spend areas? On the right, you'll see a summary of profitability. I just pulled our non-surgical medical aesthetic segment. The profit margin is 71.76%, which is solid, but it also means nearly 30% of every dollar is going to cost of goods. That's okay. So we want to be sure that those dollars are aligned with what's actually driving revenue. Visibility into this data, it helps us shift from guessing to intentional inventory strategies. We can use this to inform our ordering habits, refine treatment protocols, and have better pricing conversations with vendors. This is how we move reactive inventory management to proactive financial control. So as we bring this all together, the goal of inventory management isn't perfection, it's progress. When you move from chaos to clarity, you're going to see lower shrinkage, which means less waste, fewer surprises, and more profitability. You'll be able to budget more accurately, knowing what's needed, what's selling, and where money is tied up. It also improves your vendor relationships. When you're organized, you have leverage. You can negotiate a better deal, plan smarter promotions, and have meaningful conversations backed by data. Most importantly, the systems are scalable. Whether you're operating one room or a 5 room location, a clean inventory process can grow with you. And don't overlook how this impacts your team. When staff are empowered with clear expectations, reliable tools, and confidence in what's in stock, the entire patient experience improves. So I thank you for your time. And remember, inventory isn't just an operational task, it's a leadership discipline that sets the tone for everything else. Don't forget, we do have for our clients who are part of the Clarity Performance platform, we do have our support office hours on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. We have our tech and educational course curriculum that you can look at our curriculum and decide which one of the classes that you want to attend. And then we have our practice development office hours on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific.
So Donna, we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first is from Patty. How do you calculate cost of goods based upon revenue? Do we need to consider actual accounts payable
So how do you calculate cost of goods?
based on revenue? Mm-hmm.
So you're going to take your cost of goods and divide it by your revenue. And that gives you the percentage of your cost of goods. And then what else does she ask?
And she asked, do we need to consider actual accounts payable?
Yes, you do need to consider accounts payable. Yes.
I also have another question here. What's the best way to reduce shrinkage without micromanaging the team?
So you should start off by putting the systems into place and accountability. If you just start off by communicating to your staff and to your team, shrinkage, what is it? Tell them the numbers, tell them the real deal. That will start to weigh on them. It'll start to sink in, and they should start to manage their inventory a little bit better, because when they know the why behind it, they really care. If they know that their cost of goods are way up there, or they're using too much product in a service, they're going to want to lower that, and it makes their performance look better. So definitely communication is key. You're going to have to talk to your staff.
Yeah, and I think really like people when they know there's checks and balances in place,
Absolutely.
it's just the way we do business, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like we're on top of them hovering and micromanaging. It is just the way
The
our
way.
processes work
That's
and we
right.
check things.
Yep.
And I think we do have time for one more. Uh, what's a healthy cost of good percentage for a med spa?
Um, a healthy cost of goods percentage for a med spa is going to be overall, it's going to be 30% or less. For individual categories of services, your injectables can be at 45 or 50% because injectables have a high cost margin. But some of your other categories of services, like your aesthetic services, could be 10% or less. Some of your body contouring, skin tightening, some of those could be at 20% or less. Your laser skin resurfacing can be at 10% or less. For your if you're doing hair removal, laser hair removal, you're going to be 0%. So all combined, your tally should be 30% or less, should be your overall goal.
I did get one more question in here, and this is something that actually we talk to people about in our one-on-ones a lot. How do you track the use of back bar products to prevent waste? I mean, we do get that a lot when we have some of our providers. It seems to happen. I know we've talked about in the
Yep,
esthetician
yep,
room, like
yep.
somebody using a lot more during a hydrofacial and just tracking that because that could be a high cost
It
of
can be
goods in our
very
inventory.
high. Yep. So, you can do it several different ways, but I think that you've got to have checks and balances. So you can have sheets. So you can have count sheets that in my practice, when I was a manager for a med spa, I had count sheets for the estheticians. I had count sheets for the injector, and at the end of the week, they told me how much product they had in their room, and I checked that. Then at the end of the week, I did a full count. I checked that against what I had in my storage room. So you can do it in many different ways, but I think that count sheets definitely it holds the provider responsible for what's in their room, and then you can keep up with everything else in all the other areas. But I definitely think count seats, and if you have a POS or an EMR that allows you to manage that through the system, you can do the counts in a tablet or something like that. But definitely, I think you've got to have checks and balances.
I know in the practice that I was in, we noticed that when you start really tracking this and you're seeing trends of how much is normal for your back bar to be
Yep.
used, all of a sudden there was a jump, and we're like, why is so much back bar being used? And it really made us take a closer look and dig in. Not that anybody was doing anything intentional, but the provider was using more product than they were supposed to.
Supposed to.
And that little bit here, another little bit here, it adds up to a lot that when you see it, when you start looking at these inventory numbers and what we're paying for our cost of goods, it really was substantial. It made
Yeah.
us look at it and take a closer look to get our systems into place a little bit better.
Yeah, some locations have to use, some of the locations have, huge bottles for back bar, for facials, cleansers, toners, that sort of thing. Some people have to go to using solo cups. If you solo it out in a smaller, like a little cup for each treatment. So you have, one push of the pump of, one push of the pump. And so you can solo out the products if you have an esthetician or provider that's using too much product. There's several ways that you can control that. But yeah, there's many ways that you can do
It's
that.
almost it sounds like it's almost a bartender, right?
Yep,
Pour
exactly,
a shot.
exactly.
We need to make sure they're all doing the exact same
Exactly.
portions. Their pumps are the same. And sometimes that's in the huddle, a little well, in the meeting time to talk about how we're doing things.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Well, I think that's it for the questions. Anybody else looking on our chat over here? It wasn't working at the beginning. I apologize for that. But thank you, Donna. That was so informative, something everybody needs to be doing. Oh, somebody said they submitted a question, Sasha. Oh, Q&A. I'm sorry. Let's look there. Let's see. Is it unwise to expect an employee who has difficulty with technology be responsible for inventory management?
Yes, it's yes.
I wouldn't have that
I
person
would
do
I
the
would not have
inventory
that person do it.
management.
No, no. But if it's just the technology piece that you're concerned about, they can do it on paper. Maybe that's when you can create account sheets. So some of the software systems you can print out account sheets, or maybe you can create account sheet for her inventory for him or her. But I would not make her responsible for putting it in a computer system if she's technically challenged with that.
Yeah, Sasha says, for example, that she needs training on EMR use in general, how to use Excel, Google Sheets in general. I agree with you, Donna. I would say just go back to the old pen and
Paper.
paper
Yep.
and get the numbers for the inventory, and then it could be moved into the EMR and really be using. the other
Yeah,
techniques.
yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
I hope that answered you, Sasha. Okay, perfect. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Anybody else? And you know, one great thing is Donna and I are always available on Tuesdays. We have office hours, as Donna was mentioning just a few moments ago, but it really is a chance for any of you to jump on. If you have one question, sometimes it's just talking and trading some secrets or some really good pearls that we may do in our practices. But
Yeah,
if you're coming with a pain point, we're more than happy to help you with that. Every
exactly.
Tuesday for an hour, you've got us.
Yep. Yes, ma'am. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. I hope everyone got everything they needed out of the call. If you need us for anything else, you can reach out to us via email or join us on our office hours.
Would love to see you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye, Donna. Great job.
Thank you.